Alright, I think we are live. There we are. Alright.
Oh, golly.
Okay, social media dance has been danced. Yeah. Oh, man. One of my videos I made, I was reviewing the footage, and I don't know what I was doing, if I was absentmindedly kicking the microphone stand throughout the entire video. It was like throughout the entire thing. I'm like, what? Why? How? Why was I doing that?
Oh, fun stuff.
Yeah. So I have to reshoot that one. Not a great week for Nintendo Switch-wise. The Switch isn't out yet, so if Nintendo can... We'll talk about that, but if Nintendo can get it fixed before launch, then it's not going to be a problem. I mean, unless mainstream media picks up on the story and spreads it around, but...
Yeah.
All right, 7 o'clock. Stopwatch? Got stopwatch?
Golly. I am so out of it. There. Alright, now I've got a stopwatch.
Allahu Akbar? Like the Mon Calamari in Star Wars? Okay.
That's Admiral Akbar.
Oh, okay. I don't know what Allahu means. Sounds Hawaiian. Did I see the CNET video kickstand fail? Nope. Don't even know what that's referring to. Is it the Switch's kickstand? Did someone try to dock the Switch with the kickstand sticking out of the back and it crunch? That would be terrible. All right, You got the stopwatch?
Yes, I do.
All right. Here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 37. Andrew Eisen here, along with the returning Zachary Knight. Hello, Zachary.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Andrew.
How's your new place? Y'all moved in? All unpacked?
Yeah. No, we've got 99% of our stuff here, so I think we're doing pretty good. But no, we still have just a tiny bit of stuff left at our old house to move over here. Nothing important or interesting, but yeah, we've got everything here, but the entire place is just covered in boxes, and and I've got kids coming in and out of my office because they haven't figured out that this is my office, not a playroom. but no, it's I'll give you guys a look-see. This is my office that's still waiting to be unpacked. I've got a tower of towers over there that I need to I keep meaning on my giant to-do list of personal projects is to put together a few working computers out of all of those and have some extra computers around the house, but that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I have my old computer tower in my closet. Mainly because I've had a video idea. I have an idea for a video that I'd use it as a prop, but I never got around to shooting it, and so it just takes up space. But hey, maybe one day I'll get around to it. But
Yeah.
it's one of those.
Codenames he asked where. Oh,
Go ahead.
go ahead. Well, Codenames he asked where I was last week, and it was my wife's birthday weekend, and so I was just spending time with her and with the family last week. So nothing major going on. So
Mm. Nick Bradley says finally caught an episode live. Hey Nick, glad you're here.
yeah.
Jordan says, how would a Switch console protective case work? Well, the master edition of the Zelda Breath of the Wild actually comes with a kind of a hard plastic case, which is like a kitten caboodle. It just opens up, you put your Switch inside, and it closes, and there you go. But I've also seen some designs from third parties that are like iPad covers. You know, the
Mm-hmm.
flippy thing that flips over the front of
Yeah.
the screen. I mean, if you try to stick that sucker in your pocket or a book bag or briefcase or something like that, and catch the analog stick on a corner and yank the Joy-Con off the side and break a piece of plastic off the rail, I I don't I don't know what to tell you,
Yeah.
but be careful. It's expensive. Um,
Yeah. And I also heard that they have made the dock station proprietary in some way, so that third parties aren't going to be able to make cheaper docks. But it was just something I heard. I read somewhere. I can't remember where. It was like a couple of
well,
weeks ago.
I think Nintendo's dock is cheaper. It's just they're overcharging for it. I
Yeah.
I don't believe that that's a normal markup. I could
No,
be
it's
totally wrong about that, but I find it very hard to believe that the appropriate markup for that Switch dock is $90.
yeah. There's no way. It's plastic with a couple of cables inside. Just there might be a little bit of a circuit board in there, but I doubt very much. Just enough to transmit uh, data or whatever, or change the signal from USB to HDMI. But other than that, yeah, it's $90 is not anywhere near um, manufacturer price for that.
Yeah, it charges, it powers, it's video and audio pass through, but other than that, it's a hunk of plastic.
Yeah,
Uh, Matthew says it costs sub $10 to make. Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, granted, that thing's going to get marked up. Everything does. They got to make a profit somewhere. But $90. Eh. What are you selling it
yeah,
for in Australia, Nintendo? 400. All right, so we don't have a ton of topics to talk about tonight. So I
yeah.
thought we have a few, but before we get to them, I thought it might be fun to return to an old segment that we haven't done in a while, called Bucket List, in which
In which Andrew tells us everything that he's done and I haven't done.
That's right, where we learn what an incredibly boring person Zachary is. So we've got 5 things on the bucket list. I'm going to ask Zachary if he's done them, and then we'll regale you maybe with fun stories. So, first item on the bucket list: have you ever stayed in the hospital? I'm going to guess
Yeah.
yes, since you have a bunch of kids. Unless you're like,
Well,
bye, honey. See you when you get back with the new kid. I'll be here. Do, 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 do.
no. I've stayed in the hospital with my wife when she had kids, and I've also been in the hospital a few years ago. I was really sick, and I'm not. I never got tested for what I was sick with, but I think it might have been something like salmonella or something, because it was absolutely miserable. But then one night I woke up with chest pains and had to go to the hospital, and I had all the indicators of a heart attack. But when they tested my um, they did they ran a dye through my bloodstream to check for blockage, plaque buildup. They said all my arteries were clear, so they figured just whatever infection I had, sickness I had caused an inflammation in my heart wall that made me had a minor heart attack. But, yeah, so I was in the hospital for 3 days. Yeah, so
Well, my mom, before
yeah, and it was
oh, go ahead.
like it was just 2 weeks after our 4-year-old, or our current 4-year-old, she was born, and then 2 weeks later, I was in the hospital. So, yeah.
My mom worked in a hospital for all my life, so I've been in a hospital plenty of times. I've never been in a hospital overnight. The longest stay I had was I had I have bad allergies, and to the point where it's hard to breathe. I get congested so bad. So years ago, like, man, 20 years ago, I had my septum straightened, which is the thin piece that goes up the center. Had that straightened, and these bony bits here had those filed back, so I have more room to get air through. And that's it. I mean, went in the morning, they put me under, and I woke up in the afternoon. They wheelchaired me out, got in the car, went home, and that was that. A funny story about it is they told me that we're putting you under, so don't eat anything. So no, like a gremlin or the Mogwai rules, do not eat after midnight. I'm like, hey, all right, so skip breakfast before coming to the hospital. Got it. All right, so I go to the hospital, and they say, now, did you eat anything? Nope. You didn't put anything in your mouth and swallow it. And I said, well, I had some water. Like, and her eyes went like, my doctor's eyes were like saucer wide. I'm like, oh, you meant no drinking water either? And she goes, yes. I'm like, well, you didn't clarify that point. I thought I was thirsty. And she's like, how much did you drink? And I said, I just had a swallow from the drinking fountain like 10 minutes ago. That's literally. And she says, now that is truly, swear to me that's the only thing you had. I'm like, yes, for crying out loud, yes. And she told me later that she's had patients tell her that, oh, I just had water, and then later they barf up bacon and eggs while they're under. So that was kind of funny.
Nice.
They also, for some reason, had to shave part of my thigh for a grounding strip. And she told me this, and I was like, I wear pants, it's cool, whatever. And so when I woke up later, or I got home and I was showering, and they shaved a patch about that big on my thigh. I was thinking, like, just a couple inches, maybe, just a small little strip, but nope, big chunk.
They go for swimmer legs on you, and
it was almost the point. It's like, should I shave the rest? Now, if I wore shorts or something, I probably would have. I was like, well, that looks ridiculous. I'm glad I wear pants. So, yeah. But so, that's the most I've ever been in a hospital.
Just a funny comment here. Jordan Thompson, commas are your friend. Because I was reading your comment, and it said eating lunch meat candy bar, and I'm like, what? Like a lunch meat candy bar? But no, he's eating lunch meat and a candy bar and Pringles. But yeah, we get pepperonis, the little package of Hormel pepperonis slices, and I like to refer to those as meat candy because it's how you eat them, just right out of the package.
Hey, Hawks, how you doing? Okay, so next on the bucket list, Zachary, have you ever donated blood?
Yes, I have. And I was kind of partially surprised that I was able to, because I had traveled outside the country, but apparently they had no concerns over the time frame I was there. So it was back. So for those who don't know, I did serve a mission for my church in England, and they've had several hoof and mouth was a big disease concern there for cattle mostly, but it does have a human counterpart disease. But various other diseases like mad cow and stuff in the past, they've had concerns over contamination, blood contamination from people who live in England, but the time frame I was there, they had no concerns over that. So, yes, I was able to donate blood, and it took me like 3 years to get off of the Blood Institute or something like that. Whatever organization I donated blood to, it took me forever to get off their email list. They just kept sending me stuff, even though I kept trying to unsubscribe.
So, will you watch the needle going in or the blood pumping out, or do you turn your head and tell me when it's over?
I cannot watch them put the needle in, but once the needle's in, I'm fine. It's like whatever. I'll watch the blood drain or the fluids get squeezed into me from a syringe, whatever. It's just, but the needle, I can't watch it going in. Yeah. I don't know why. It's not that big of a deal. It's just I can't do it.
Nick Bradley asks, hoof and mouth. Yeah, that's when a cow says something really dumb.
Yeah. But hoof and mouth disease
like
is it's yeah, but hoof and mouth is it's not a fatal disease. It's a thing that cattle can they can recover from it within a few weeks, like a week or two, but they have a hard time eating and drinking because their mouths get full of blisters, and then blisters form around their hooves and stuff, and it's really nasty. But in England, they have this big thing about being antibiotic free.
And mouth disease?
Yes, hoof and mouth.
So it's not hoof in mouth? Oh, okay.
No, but yeah, and they have this big thing over there where they like their meat to be antibiotic free, and so if hoof and mouth disease it starts breaking out, they will literally kill and burn all of their cattle rather than let any of them get sick, because they see this, if they do a blood test on an animal before it goes to slaughter and they see the antibodies from the disease, they don't know if it's from the antibiotics or from the disease. And so they can't get that seal of approval on antibiotic free meat. It's a crazy and insane system, because literally they will kill thousands of cattle rather than let any of them get sick. And it's, yeah.
We must kill them all before they get ill. Well, chat's on fire tonight. 13U Cube says hand-to-mouth disease is my paycheck disorder. I like that. James says it's annoying when you're cool with looking, but the fainting triggers anyway. And Jordan, that's a good question. I'll ask that one in a sec. As for myself, I love donating blood because it's a great excuse to eat a cookie. The first time I gave blood, I was just blown away by the series of really personal questions. They're like, okay, have you been outside of the country in the last 6 months? I'm like, no. Have you had sex with anyone who's been outside the country in the last 6 months? I'm like, no. And it's like, have you ever had sex with anyone who's had sex with anyone who's been outside of the country 6 months? I'm like, would I know? And they went on and on with these really personal sex questions, and I don't know if the person was hitting on me or what, but I was like, you know what? You could save time by just leading with, so you a virgin? Because if the answer is yes, it's like, great, we can skip all the way down to the bottom of the page and save ourselves like 15 minutes here. Gets closer to cookie time. But
they have lots of questions before they let you do donate blood. Yeah.
So Jordan asks, have either of us ever passed out? Not necessarily from from giving blood, but ever fainted?
Um, yes, I have. There was one night. It was trying to remember. I believe it was my second oldest. When she was a baby, I had like this really bad sinus congestion, and so I took Benadryl and Sudafed, and so I think this probably contributed to it. But in the middle of the night, she woke up and she needed to take care of, and so I got up and I helped what I could, and then I went to the bathroom, and I'm standing at the toilet peeing, and the next thing I know, my parents and my wife are standing over me and trying to get me to wake up and get out of the bathroom floor. So yeah,
Hmm.
not a fun experience. No.
Matthew says, Andrew, you're an adult. You want a cookie? Just buy one. Yeah. But as Nick points out, donating blood for a cookie is cheaper than buying one. It just
Yeah.
costs a little bit of time and some invasive questions. I've never fainted. Um, I did have my blood work done for something, and I was in the doctor's office, and she sticks the thing in my arm and then gets the glass tube and stuffs it to the thing stuck in my arm, and blood spurts out and fills up the tube, and she yanks out the tube, grabs another tube, jams it on, fills up the tube, and by like the fifth or sixth tube I start giggling, and she's like looking at me like, uh-oh, so this one's got a screw loose. I'm like, no, no, no. It just hit me. It's like, I'm gonna need some of that. You can't take it all. It just looks like a lot more than it is. It's like, how much of that do you really need? But anyway,
Yeah.
I have never fainted, but I will tell you a funny fainting story. When I was born, I don't remember this, so it could be not. This is what I've been told. I hope it's true because it's hilarious. When I was born, uh, they did a blood test by pricking the heel of my foot, getting some blood off, and then they go test the blood, make sure everything's healthy. Uh, so
Hmm.
my mom, of course, was there, and she was standing outside the room looking through the window. And they said, okay, now we're going to prick your son's heel and take some blood, and you probably don't want to watch this. And she's like, I've worked in the burn ward. I have seen things you can't unsee. She's like, I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. They prick my finger and mom just hits the floor. I wish there
Nice.
were cell phone cameras back then because I would have put that on YouTube. Oh man, I wish there were video of that. That would have been great. Mom just, but anyway, so next one. Ever gotten a piercing?
No.
Yeah, yeah. Nor I. Just the idea of jamming a piece of steel through the flesh of my face or any other part of my body, somehow I've never found appealing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Well, if you count stepping on a rusty nail and getting that jabbed through your foot,
Oh well, I've
but that wasn't permanent. So
yeah, my sister and I loved playing in construction sites when we were young, and so we both ended up with some injuries. I managed to get we were playing in a dump bin or something. I managed to get one of those big wood staples stuck in my knee. So
ouch, that was
yeah,
hurt. Yeah,
yeah. Um, Better than a splinter because a big metal staple you can just pull right out. Splinters, you got to go digging for them.
yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so no piercings. How about tattoos?
Nope.
Yeah, nor I. Yeah, we're both boring. What do you like
Yeah.
tattoos? Have you ever seen anyone with a tattoo go, that's pretty cool?
Nah, I'm not. I don't really care.
Not a big body art fan.
No, not really. Just doesn't. It's never appealed to me, and I don't. I'm sure there's some art out there that I think would be cool, but I'm just not the type of person to think, oh, that would be cool if it were permanently branded onto my flesh. It's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, what if I change my mind? What if it doesn't turn out well? What if,
Well, I've actually met people who got tattoos, like gang related tattoos, and
mhm.
well, there's one particular person, but he was in a gang and got gang related tattoos, um, and then he started having doubts and wanting to get out of the gang, and but because he was also doing drugs and stuff at the time, he actually took a sandpaper to his skin to try to get some of these tattoos off,
Oh.
and yeah, it was
Oh.
kind of messed up story, but he
Yeah.
eventually got himself cleaned up and out of that life. But he
Yeah.
still had some of those tattoos from before. He just because it's expensive to get them removed
It's like, it's not
properly.
working. I better get the steel wool.
Yeah. Well, if you Kool-Aid lover asked, did the sandpaper work? If you get it deep enough, yeah, it does. And he actually has these massive bubbly scars where some tattoos used to be. So
Yeah, so if you're getting a tattoo, you want to be real sure.
yeah,
So, okay, a friend of mine, Michelle, has really cool tattoos. It's like a weird line work that goes pretty much from the side of her body all the way down over her hips and down her legs. And it's really neat looking. But the thing I noticed first on her was she had, as far as body art goes, the thing that stuck out the most when I first met her was she has these two studs somehow embedded through the small of her back. Um, she'd borrowed a shirt from me at one time, and I went to go get it back, and she's like, "Oh yeah, yeah." She turns around, and I'm looking at the small of her back. She's got these two studs in the small of her back. I'm like, how? Why? What? Just the weirdest thing.
yeah.
So anyway, okay, last one. Have you ever driven a stick shift vehicle?
Yes, I grew up with driving those. That's how I learned to drive, and that's how I prefer it. I like manual shifting.
I agree. That's all I've ever in fact, I that's what I drive now. And these days, it gets more and more difficult to find a standard transmission.
Yeah, yeah, they're selling more automatics these days, and
I can try to drive. I can drive automatics, and it's. But I'll do the my hand will do this as I reach for a gear shift that's not there, which is it can be really embarrassing when there's a woman sitting in the passenger seat and you're making this motion. It's like, are you going for my knee and missing? What are you doing? You know, it's like, no, no, no. I keep thinking there's a gear shift there. That's
yeah,
plausible, right? So,
yeah. It's like one of the things that I find frustrating going from manual to automatic, and it's like if you've been driving a manual for a long time, you've got you have to push the clutch in before you can shift gears. Well, every once in a while, I'll be driving in an automatic, and I'll go for the clutch and end
and
up
you'll hit the
hitting the
brake.
brake,
Yeah.
and just like you just slam on that brake, and oh, it's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yep. Yeah. So okay, so that's a bucket list. I think I've only got five more of those. So yeah, we'll return to that again someday. But
All right.
let us move on to our first topic, which is the Castlevania Netflix show, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago, which is apparently coming out this year, and it has a show poster, and it looks like this. And someone on my Twitter pointed out that this castle is mostly keeps. And I
Yeah.
looked again and I'm like, you're right. There's not really much castle there. It's mostly all towers. It also does not look very structurally sound. So,
Well, when you're the Dark Lord, you've got some leeway in your construction, you know. But yeah,
yes, yes, Jordan. It is an animated show. The Castlevania show is
yeah,
animated.
and the director also said that they're going for I guess the television equivalent of an R rating.
Hmm.
So very interested in that. I guess
Which,
there's going to be a lot of blood and some swearing or something.
it should be. I would think that it should be gothic horror, like the Hammer films.
Yeah,
It should be spooky and brooding and have lots of day glow orange blood, if you're going pure Hammer. But I don't know if I need Trevor Belmont or whoever's in this, dropping the F-bomb or anything like that. Well,
yeah,
I am very interested to see what they do with this show. So
yeah. I'm
Jordan
sure it's
says, I hope he doesn't go, "Excuse me, Dracula."
yeah. Well, it's just to be honest, my Castlevania experience is pretty narrow. I love Symphony of the Night. I've
Hmm.
played it multiple times, and then I've also played Castlevania Legends on the original Game Boy, and
Oh, I've never played that one.
yeah, it was pretty good. I liked it. It starred a girl, and now I can't remember her name. Um, but and then I've tried to play some of the other Castlevanias, but never really took a big interest because I think I preferred Castlevania Symphony of the Night and the way that plays over just the strict level structure of other Castlevania games. And then the 3D ones I just never got around to playing. Just I played Devil May Cry, and and it just seemed to me that some of the 3D ones just tried to be too much like Devil May Cry rather than
Yeah.
what you would consider a Castlevania game. So I just
Mhm.
never really took an interest in those ones.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. Codename Z points out that they've got the incredibly low bar of Simon Belmont from Captain N to
Yeah,
clear. So as long as they do better than that preening dipstick, they should it'll at least be a step up.
yeah, yeah. I'm kind of curious about how they're going to do that, and I honestly I don't think they're going to be throwing that much swearing in there. I think most
Mhm.
of what they're going for is just going to be gore and blood, because really it's where the Castlevania series goes in that direction. It's like everything explodes into a, rain of blood and stuff when you kill it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Moving on to another topic. Polygon had a interview with Bethesda's Todd Howard, and the thing that stuck out at me the most was a very short comment on Skyrim, Elder Scrolls Skyrim, which is coming to the Nintendo Switch later this fall. Um, yeah, that should do well.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone is still debating: is it going to be the special edition? Is it going to be based on the original Skyrim? What is it? And he quote can't say, which doesn't inspire confidence. I mean, you
Yeah.
think it's like it has to be at least the special edition. I mean, if I had to put money on it, I would guess it'll be based on the special edition. It just won't have any modding support. That's where my guess would go. But if you're at this point and well, I can't say. It's like, really?
And
Why
what
would
is
you
his?
want to leave any doubt in anyone's mind that it's not based on the special
Yeah.
edition?
What is his role at Bethesda? I'm looking at the
I'm
article and I'm not seeing his specific
his title.
role.
No, they just call him a
Yeah.
developer. I'm not sure
Yeah,
what
they
he
call him
does
a
there.
veteran developer, and it says in the caption under the picture says Todd Howard, the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences, 22nd Hall of Fame recipient. And it's like, okay, that doesn't tell me much.
So Matthew says it's most likely based on a mobile version yet to be revealed. Hmm. So
Maybe.
they're making Skyrim for for the iOS, and it's based on that version. That's totally possible. That would be potentially super disappointing, but
Yeah, it would be.
lead game designer, okay.
Uh, well, if he's the lead game designer and he's the lead game designer over Skyrim, you think he would be able to know and definitively say whether it's going to be the special edition or
Yeah,
not.
who's stopping
Uh,
him? I mean, is Nintendo like, don't say? I mean, the only reason I can
or
think of that
Bethesda, it could be Bethesda too,
I
saying
mean,
don't
it's like,
say. But
yeah, why can't you say? Is it because it's not, is it bad news? Is that why you can't say? And you don't want people to write it off so early? Codename Z points out that, um, back in October when the first Switch reveal came out, they showed footage of Skyrim running on the Switch, and Bethesda stubbornly would not confirm that Skyrim was coming out on the Switch. It's like, guys, you're in the commercial. It's right there. That's clearly Skyrim. And they're like, well, we can't confirm at this point. It's like, that stuff is always weird to me. I mean, I'm sure
yeah,
there's a really good reason for it or something, but boy.
yeah, but yeah, but that doesn't breed confidence at all into what they're doing. It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, it's like, let's say EA was going to release Mass Effect on the Wii U, and everybody was like, "Ooh, are you going to do the Mass Effect trilogy?" Oh, we can't say. And then they keep saying that, and then release day comes, and you find out it's just Mass Effect 3.
And it's still missing a bunch of DLC.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, yeah, as I said, does not inspire confidence,
Not at all.
but
No.
we'll see. So, all right, next topic. There are numerous reports, from what I can tell, mostly American press, that the Switch's Joy-Con controllers are having a bit of a desyncing problem. So, what that means is you'll be pushing up on the control stick, and Link will be tearing ass across the field, and you let go, but the console isn't reading your stick anymore and thinks you're still pushing up, so Link just walks right off a cliff. Um, that's a problem. Kind of a
Hmm.
weird problem because I haven't. It didn't seem to be a problem at E3 or any of the various demo events. So perhaps it's a bad batch of Joy Cons that got sent out to some of the press. It's possible that
Possibly.
there's just an update to the OS is doing something really weird, like keeping it in a low power. Like I imagine it's possible that when you dock it on the system, it switches to a low power mode because it's right there, and when you
Yeah.
undock it, it's supposed to switch back to its high power mode, and maybe it's just not switching back to its high power mode sometime.
Hmm.
If it's that, that's something that could be fixed in a system update, I would think. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Syncing problems can be typically be software issues and can be fixed. Sometimes updating the RF driver or Bluetooth driver, but sometimes it is hardware. And if you get a bad batch of antennas, yeah, you're kind of screwed. You'd have to just completely replace the controller or get it fixed. But yeah,
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, maybe if it's a bad batch of controllers, I mean, again, this did not seem to be a problem at E3 last year or at any of the numerous demo events that have happened across the country and world in the last couple of months. Um, so it could be a bad batch of controllers, in which case, well, you recall that batch or you send out replacements or whatever. Or
mm,
it's just the latest system OS is doing something funky with the controllers, and they just patch that out and or patch in a fix, and it works fine.
yeah, hopefully.
I mean, as Matthew's saying, it seems like weak wireless radios, or at least in a low power state. Yeah, I would guess low power state because if it was just they skimped on the wireless radios, this problem would have cropped up before. Uh, so we'll see what happens, but I think if it's
Yeah,
something that's only affecting a small batch, a small run of Joy Cons, or is something that can easily be fixed through the day one patch that's going to be there anyway, then this
yeah,
is probably not going to attract the attention of the mainstream and will probably fly under the radar for most consumers and won't be a
yeah.
problem.
Hopefully. Laxter asked, do they still communicate over Bluetooth when docked on the console? Everything that I can tell, and I have not had a hands-on system, is that when the Joy-Cons are on the console, they're just sitting on the console. They're not
Yeah,
communicating directly with the console over a hardware.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, right. It's still a wireless connection even when it's docked on the console. It's just holding onto a rail. It is powering. It is drawing power from the system, from what I understand, when you dock the Joy Cons on
yeah.
the Switch itself. But it's it's not switching to any type of contact connection for its input communications.
Yeah.
Um, so that's a potential issue, but it looks like it's something that likely will be easily fixed with a patch. So
Yeah, and
no,
hopefully, because it
yeah,
would kind of suck to have 200,000 left Joy Cons being replaced within the first month. Yeah,
well, something that
nobody would be happy with that.
Andre at Game Explain pointed out is that he can reproduce the same issue with the right Joy-Con. It's just that you're constantly moving your character with the left Joy-Con, so you're definitely going to notice when it desyncs
Yeah,
momentarily. The right stick is just for the camera, and you're not always moving it, so that's not as noticeable. But he was able to simply by putting the controller behind his back really make the analog stick read just go haywire with both
wow.
controllers, which shouldn't happen. You can grab any
No, it shouldn't.
wireless controller you want and put it behind your back while sitting on the couch, and it'll almost certainly be absolutely fine. So it sounds like either, as we've been speculating, just a bad batch of hardware or some weird software glitch with a new OS that's locking it in some weird low power mode in cases when it's undocked from the Switch. So,
13U Cube asks if you have to get $100 in ad revenue in a single month to get your check, or is it cumulative? It's just as soon as you get $100, Google pays you your money. It
it
doesn't matter if it takes you a week or 10 years to get that $100. As soon as you get it, you can withdraw that.
I
So
I was only with Google for a while. I'm partnered with some multi-channel thing. What the one I use right now, they just send me however much ad revenue I earned that month. So I get a monthly check of $7 to $9, depending on how well that month went.
yeah,
But yeah, back in the day when I first was able to uh, monetize my videos, I was doing it through Google, and I believe it was they paid out every quarter as long as you had earned over $100.
yeah.
So that's how it worked 5 years ago, at least. I'm not sure what they're doing now, but yeah. So
I'm not sure. Yeah, it's something. The $100 is that's how much you have to have in there in order to get paid. I forget. I haven't looked to see how often you get paid, just because I still have not made $100 through Google AdWords or Google AdSense. So yeah, I, I,
uh,
I It's been a few weeks since I've checked, but I think last time I checked, I had like $50 in there or something like that. And
Someday.
I've been using. Someday I will make $100 and be able to get paid.
And Google
Uh,
gets to sit on your $50 and earn interest on it for years.
yeah.
Codename Z says I'm partnered with Nintendo. Well, that's restrictive. I've seen the fine print of their program, and it's restrictive and simultaneously incredibly vague. Says I'm
Yeah.
partnered with Nintendo, and the top I got was 7 cents. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
I
Goodness.
I keep forgetting to look up how much ad money's. I did look it up at some point, but Nintendo copyright claimed one of my videos a year or so ago, and I looked and saw what its lifetime earnings were, and it was like $2.30 or something like that. I'm
Oh
like,
wow.
see, that's what Nintendo was trying to take from my work is $2.30. That was worth a 2 month copyright fight for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the in the crotch video. It's called Captain Toad headbutts Toadette in the crotch, and I say crotch a lot in that video. It uses mostly it's just me staring at the camera telling a story, and it's supplemented with some clips of Captain Toad, which I captured myself from the copy of the game that I legally bought and own.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Matt says just copy Jim Sterling's copyright deadlock. Well, I don't want to do that because then I don't have a Patreon. Um, so I do make money off of ad revenue. So the copyright deadlock, what that does is you put footage that multiple parties will claim. So if multiple parties claim ad revenue, no one gets anything, and that includes the video producer. So it works great for Jim Sterling because he doesn't run ads on his videos anyway. He's entirely supported by Patreon, which is
Yeah.
wonderful. So wow says where's the launch countdown video for today? It's up. Today is day one. It's on my YouTube channel. It's called Nintendo Switch launch countdown day one, the NES, and here is a link to it if you wanted to watch it. Day two will be up tomorrow, and I'll have one every day leading up to the Switch's launch on Friday. So let's see, we've
Nice.
got one more topic that I wanted to talk about, and it's about Zelda. Now, as I've mentioned on podcasts past, I'm done learning about Zelda. I don't need to see any more previews. I don't need to see any more screenshots or videos or trailers or demos. I'm good. I
Yeah.
want the game.
After Zelda E3, I was pretty
Yeah.
much done learning about
That's
Zelda.
really what it was after 8 hours. Because I'm the type of Nintendo fanboy who sat there and watched the entire 8 hours of Nintendo Treehouse, and I'm like, okay, that's all the Zelda I ever need to see from now until actually playing the game. Um, so I haven't been able really to share in the joy and excitement of new Zelda pictures and new Zelda stuff because I'm like I don't care whatever. I just want to play the game now. But I did hear a detail that was so cool to me anyway that it rather um, rekindled my excitement for playing Zelda, and that was the boomerang. Uh, Boomerang confirmed. So, like Zelda games past, the boomerang is in this game, and the interesting thing about it is. You actually have to tap the button at the right time to catch the sucker on its way back. Otherwise, you're going to have to
Nice.
turn around and walk over to where it landed and pick it up again. And don't miss if you're like standing on the edge of a cliff because it'll just go off the edge, and you either got to climb down there and get it, or bye bye boomerang. Get another one either from a shop or from enemies or whatever. And also, not only that, but you have to be careful about using the boomerang indoors, like in tight corridors, because if you chuck that sucker down a corridor, it's probably just going to hit the wall and clank on the floor, which would be embarrassing. It's like, oh, Stalfos! Boomerang hits the wall and hits the floor. Stalfos like, and you're like, well, That's kind of embarrassing. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, that
but
is a
just
cool
that
feature.
that's
Yeah,
really cool. I like the idea of having to pay attention, and I like the idea of there being some skill in using the boomerang, not just hit button to throw boomerang and
yeah,
that's it. You actually throw the boomerang and then you have to, time the catch. Otherwise, it's going to sail right past you. And you can't use a boomerang in a tight corridor because it doesn't have the room to maneuver. I really like that. It reminds me
yeah,
of some of the earlier Tomb Raider games when there was actually a grab button. Um, nowadays, I still like the Tomb Raider games, but like Tomb Raider and Uncharted and stuff like that, and Prince of Persia, they're fun, but they're kind of mindless because the characters just automatically grabbed you just jump
yeah,
thing to thing, and they automatically do their thing. In some of the earlier Tomb Raider games, you jumped and then you had to, hit the button to grab, or Laura would just plow into the side of a wall and fall off. Um, I like that extra bit of um, having to actually do the work, having to actually
yeah,
be skilled yourself to an extent, to get your character to do neat, skillful things.
yeah.
Um,
So, have you ever thrown a boomerang in real life?
I have,
Yeah,
and it was broken. It didn't work at all. I'm pretty sure it wasn't me. I'm like, this thing
yeah,
doesn't. I mean, I got to curve a little bit, but I wasn't with anyone who was like a boomerang expert, so I didn't have anyone to show me how to do it. I just chucked one and got it to spin, and it moves a little bit. I could curve it, but it didn't like reverse course and come all the way back. Uh,
yeah. See, that's been my experience. I've got it to where I can throw it, and then it curves and comes back, but it never comes back to me. It always comes back to way over there, or way over there. It never comes back to right here. But
yeah, Matthew points out that your weapons in Zelda break, and that's true. So if you do lose your boomerang off a cliff, it was probably going to break after a while anyway. I imagine there's probably the Master Sword in there somewhere that will be your sword, but
unbreakable.
until
Yeah.
you get that, you're just scrounging for pitchforks and axes and swords and sticks and just anything you can to beat moblins and whatever over the head with. So,
Yeah.
if you lose a boomerang over that, that's another nice thing. It's not like, well, I went through an entire dungeon and then da 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 da, I got my boomerang and it went off a cliff and it's gone forever. That sucked. No, no, no. It's the weapons are supposed to be disposable. You're not
Yeah.
supposed to get totally attached to a specific weapon because they do break, but they also drop like candy. So it's unlikely you're ever going to be completely unarmed in that game.
Yeah. It definitely
Let's.
looks interesting. I would love to get it at some point, but I still have to play and beat Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask,
Hmm,
Twilight Princess, and
Skyward Sword.
Skyward Sword. I have not. I've played
So
some
you've
of
beaten Wind
each of
Waker.
them. Oh no, I still have to beat Wind Waker
Oh,
too.
so
Dang
all
it,
of
so
those.
five. Yeah, yeah, all of them. And then on the Game Boy or handheld, I've played. Um, Link's Awakening is the only one I've played on handheld, at least all the way through. I've played some of Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons, uh, but yeah, the all the other ones I have not played at all.
Hmm.
So tons of Zelda games that I still haven't played, and I consider myself a Zelda fan. But yeah, I just haven't played them.
Yeah.
13U Cube wants to buy me a Wii U. I would love that. So
Let's see.
my birthday is September 10th, so that gives you time. Yeah, my wife's birthday was just last week. She says, "Go ahead and send it to us."
Let's see. I love woodchucks. What a great name. Asks, are you picking up Zelda for the Wii U? I don't know yet. It's really going to come down to uh, what are the true differences between the Wii U and Switch versions of the game. Now,
Yes. Yeah.
Nintendo says the only difference is 720p versus 900p. So slightly higher resolution on the Switch, and better environmental sound effects on the Switch. So like footsteps and wind rustling through the tree leaves, which is kind of an odd thing. Um, I've seen some footage of the Switch version, and it looks like it can be a little framey at times. Um, if the Wii U version runs at a fairly locked 30 frames instead of the Switch's slightly framey when you're running through grassy areas or there are a lot of effects on the screen, that might be worth the slight drop in resolution. Hard to
Yeah.
say. So really, I'm going to wait until late next week when we really get some comparisons between the Wii U version and the Switch version and see what the true difference is between the games. I imagine content-wise they're exactly the same, but the
You would hope,
performance-wise it
yeah.
might be yes, but performance-wise there might be some differences that would sway my opinion one way or the other. Also, one big factor is the fact that I own a Wii U. I don't own a Switch. So, and there's almost nothing on the Switch that I'm interested in playing for quite a long time. So, unless the experience on the Switch is markedly better than the Wii U version, I probably won't be picking up getting it on the Switch. I'll probably just get
Yeah.
it for the Wii U. But we'll see. I'll go into this probably a little bit more in the day 7 video of my Switch Countdown series, um, or maybe I won't. That's more focusing on uh, hype for launch. Basically, I'm doing a series counting down to the Switch's launch, where each day I take a look back at each Nintendo home console launch and how hyped I was at the time. Today I released the NES version of the day one video, which was looked at the NES, and I was 5 years old at the time, so I didn't know about it until it came out, and I saw it at a friend's house. So I wasn't too hyped for the launch, but
Yeah.
um, there you go.
Cool.
What about you? You don't have a Wii U or a Switch, so would
Yeah.
you? Are you excited enough? I guess the question for you is: are you excited enough for Breath of the Wild to drop a few hundred bones on a console, or are you happy just playing all the rest of the Zelda games that you haven't have been through yet?
I have quite the backlog, and so yeah, I probably won't be buying a console anytime soon. Um, but if I do buy a console, it'll probably be the Wii U first, just because I'm the type of person that I will buy older consoles
Hmm.
just because they have a larger library of games that I'm interested in playing. And the Wii U, it does have quite a few games that I want to play, and I would like to get it so that I can sideline my Wii, because I'll be able to play all the Wii games on it, and then just and hook up my GameCube again to my television. So play all the GameCube games on the GameCube, all the Wii and Wii U games on the Wii U, and that's kind of what I'm thinking. But eventually I'll get the Switch. But I don't know. I would like to get a PS4 at some time as well, because Horizon Zero Dawn
Hmm.
and Uncharted 4, two particular games that I'm looking forward to playing.
Now, when you eventually pick up a PS4, would you be getting the Pro or just the regular edition?
Probably whatever's available at the time. If the Pro is has dropped down in price, I'd probably just go for that.
Hmm.
But I don't have any interest in buying a 4K TV, so I'll probably just
There you
save
go.
a little bit more money and just get the regular one. So
Yeah, I don't have a 4K TV either, so the base system is fine for me. My TV's a few years old now, so it doesn't do HDR either. So there wouldn't have been much point to me picking up a PS4 Pro. Um, uh,
so Matthew asked if either of us own the now, I guess I'm assuming $300 GameCube cables to hook it up to modern TVs. Um, I'm assuming you're talking about the component cables for the
Oh,
GameCube.
if that's what you're referring
Yeah,
to, yes, I have the component cables for the GameCube. I bought them back in 2001, 2, whenever Nintendo made them available, and I believe they were only available via like Nintendo's online store. I don't think they were ever sold in stores. It's like Nintendo was
yeah.
embarrassed that some of the GameCube games could run in progressive scan, and by progressive scan I mean 480p. Oh yeah. Um, but hey, every little bit helped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have them, and they were like $30 at the time. So I guess it's not too
I'm
surprising that.
assuming there's some third party component cables out there, but it's been a while
Well,
since I've looked.
it's a proprietary plug on the back of the system, so it's not like you can just pick up a pair of component cable, generic component cables. They would have
Well,
to be
that's never.
actually third party made for the GameCube component
Well,
cables.
yeah, and that's yeah. I'm pretty sure you could just go to the local retro game store and pick up a third party one because
I
I've seen all kinds of third party cables for pretty much every system out there.
You know,
So
I would consider myself a videophile or graphics whore, or whatever you want to call that. But I honestly don't feel that the difference between 480i and 480p is worth $300.
no,
Yeah,
not
there's a
really.
difference. There's a noticeable
Uh,
difference. It ain't $300 though, not to me anyway.
Codename Z says sell the cable by a switch.
There you
If
go.
you could actually get $300 for a set of cables, I would absolutely do that.
Um, well,
Uh,
I don't have my I don't have them here anymore. I gave the GameCube to my sister along with the component cables, um, because I had to buy a new set for the Wii. I don't believe they were compatible, which was annoying.
no.
Um, and so I used my Wii
The
for the
Wii and
GameCube.
the yeah
Yeah.
yeah the Wii and the GameCube have different shaped ports on the back for the cables, and I do have third party component cables for my Wii because the TV I have has two component inputs, two composite inputs, and then four HDMI. And I had several systems that used composite, and so I had to upgrade something to component. And the Wii was the only one that I was able to upgrade to component. And I looked, I couldn't find any component cables for the PlayStation 2, which kind of sucks, but
Yeah,
oh well.
Laxter makes a good
Um,
point that modern TVs don't handle interlaced signals very well. I actually haven't tried it, so but I have hooked up like my Nintendo 64 through a converter for my big TV, and it sometimes it's like I think I'll. That's why I kept my my tube television so I could play the older consoles because you're right. One, hooking them
yeah,
up to modern TVs is tough. Two, they kind of look junky when you try it. So
that's true. Yeah, if you want to play your old retro game systems like the N64 or the I guess the PlayStation 1 or anything older than that, yeah, you got to have a tube TV.
yeah, I had to rig a way to hook up my Atari 7800 to my the tube television in my bedroom, and I mean I had to go into I had to use a soldering gun. Let's put it that way. I had to really jury rig something to get that working. But I can still play Atari, so that's cool. But
Yeah.
that's the nice thing about virtual consoles, which will not be available day one on the Switch, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's another thing. It's like, seriously? The virtual console's not going to be available day one? Do they not like money at Nintendo?
Maybe, well, I hear the company that did the NES Classic Edition is working on the emulators for the Switch Virtual Console. Maybe they're just not done yet. I I don't know. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that people are referring to when they say, was the Switch just not ready yet? Should they have waited till next fall? I mean, the online service apparently is not ready yet. Virtual console is not ready yet. There aren't really a ton of games. I mean, there's a lot of indie stuff. Most of it you can play elsewhere. I mean, it's cool. It's nice to have,
Yeah.
but there's not a lot of. It looks like most of the companies that have been working on Switch titles, like, just started recently. For example, Suda51. He's like, I'm working on a game with Travis Touchdown. It's like, you ain't started yet, have you? It's like, I drew this picture. That's how far we are. See you in three
Nice.
years. So, um, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Codename Z on the Wii and the Wii U. The Virtual Console is not out day one. That's right. Well, on the Wii, it was brand new. But
Yeah.
yeah, I believe it wasn't day one on the Wii U either. I don't know if if the idea is Zelda is all, so everything else get out of the way. Like, no one's going to be playing Virtual Console. Maybe no one's going to be buying fun little games on the eShop. No one's going to be buying any other major retail games because Zelda will consume all time for a month and a half. Uh, I wonder if a lot of those decisions it's looking like, is the Switch coming out a bit too early for its own good? Is just everyone getting out of the way of the juggernaut that is Zelda? Hard to say.
Hard to say, but I can't expect that everybody is going to play Zelda all the time. People are going to need a palette. Yeah, I forget the word. But they'll
Oh,
need to clean their palette every now and then with some other game.
Rainbow Dragon Vlogs. I like that name, and you're making me remove your comment. Shame on you. Oh well. Um, Matthew points out that if the Switch came out next fall, they'd be going up against the Scorpio, and that would be DOA.
I
I,
haven't heard
you
enough
know,
about the Scorpio to really
even
say
if the
one way or
Scorpio,
another.
whatever the Scorpio is, if it does come out next fall, whatever happens, we're probably only a couple years out at most from the next generation of Sony and Microsoft consoles. So I think Nintendo's behind the eight ball regardless. I think I'm afraid rather that the Switch is just going to be something that keeps Nintendo afloat for a couple of years until they get something that can be competitive. But, who
I don't
knows?
know. It may take off, and they'll realize that this is where they need to be console wise, and they'll just eventually phase the 3DS out in favor of their combined home and handheld market. But
Gregory, hello, Gregory, asks, have we seen the game Snake Pass? I've seen footage of it, and it's colorful and pretty. I have no idea exactly how that game is controlled. Um, I haven't really looked into it, but it's a puzzle game starring a snake, and you move the snake through an environment by coiling it around stuff. Um, it could be cool. Hopefully, however it controls really, really well. Because looking at the footage, you're like, oh man, that looks like it might not be easy to control. But yeah, who knows?
yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched footage of too many games that are coming out. One, I've had very little time over the last couple of weeks to do much of anything. It's like I'm already behind on my daily comics readings. So, yeah.
We're talking about Nintendo possibly going full mobile if the Switch is not a success. Have you played the Fire Emblem mobile game?
I downloaded it
Hmm.
and I played the tutorial. And then once I got through the tutorial, it wanted me to download another half gig of data to play the rest of the game. I'm like, screw that, and I deleted it. So, because my phone space on my phone is already at a premium, and I'm not putting a half a gig game on my phone right now. I would have to delete pretty much every other game that's installed on my phone in order to play just that one. And yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
So
I've been playing it a little bit. I don't like it, but then again, I'm not a fan of Fire Emblem, and this is a stripped down version of that. Um, it's interesting because the game does not explain itself very well. It kind of it expects you to poke around in the menus and see what's available. Um,
hmm.
my biggest problem with the game is probably that I suck at it. I'm not sure if it's poor design or if I just suck, but from what I can gather, um, so they will put your four characters on a map, and the four enemy characters will be somewhere else. And almost every single map I have seen, um, you cannot get to any of the characters, and the enemy characters will not move until you move your characters into range of getting attacked. Otherwise, because I'll sit there and I'll go, well, I can't really move anywhere valuable, strategically valuable, and I can't reach anyone to hit them in this turn, so I'll just hold my ground. End turn, and then the computer goes, end turn. I'm like, oh, we're just going to sit here and stare at each other all day. And so I'll say, okay, well, maybe I'll just shuffle my characters around a little bit while still staying out of enemy range. And I'll move them a little bit and end turn. And the computer's like, nope, end turn, back to you. I'm like, so the computer will not move its characters until it can hit you, which is
Yeah,
dumb.
that
It
that
makes it no
uh,
fun.
I haven't followed too much about it, but I do remember reading somewhere somebody was talking about that very same thing, where you basically have to play the you have to play the draw the enemy out game, where it's like you send a character with high defense or high HP up there to draw the enemy out so that you can use the characters with high attack to kill them, because there's no other way to actually do it, which is kind of stupid. I think that's just lazy AI design on whoever whatever team developed that game, because really the CPU needs to be interacting with you as well, beyond just, oh, something's in range, I'm going to attack it, because that's
Yeah.
the laziest AI design you could possibly do in a strategic game like this.
Yeah, and it's really no fun. It just becomes a complete battle of attrition. There's almost no strategy to the game. It's like, well, if you're a red person, then you go beat on the green person. If you're a green person, you go beat on the blue, and blue beats on red. Other than that, you just hope you're at a high enough level so that when you keep taking turns smacking each other, that you're alive at the end of the exchange, and
Yeah.
that's it. And that's boring. Maybe I'm just playing the game completely wrong. I don't know. Maybe I suck at it. So,
Uh,
any I love woodchucks. I love Woodchuck Society. It's a whole society of woodchuck lovers. That's great.
nice.
Do we have any thoughts on PewDiePie? Nope.
I don't watch any of his stuff.
I
If
tried a
if
couple times and I can't sit through it. So
yeah, if what he got, you can't really say it's fired from Disney, but what if he whatever he if what he did to get Disney to distance themselves from him
his
by
MCN
canceling
dropped
their
him.
contracts, yeah, it's like, if that's indicative of what his humor is, it's not my cup of tea. I'm not
Um,
going to watch it. It's just, and it's not just the anti-Semitism. It's just that type of humor, the what he was doing, and that got all this attention on him, is just not the type of humor that I like.
Well,
You
so
know,
the big thing apparently was, and again, I don't watch him either, so I'm not really in the know about what his shtick is. But one of the things he did as a joke was paid some people somewhere to hold up a sign that says "Death to all Jews" or something like that. I guess just to see if they do it,
Yeah.
and they did. And then Maker Studios, who is owned by Disney, saw that and said, "Well, that's not a good look for our brand," and they dropped them. Which and that's fine. That happens. Your employer doesn't like the things that you do, they'll drop you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
unless you have a clause in your contract that guarantees uh, that can't happen, which I would be extraordinarily surprised if Disney, of all people, did that.
yeah.
But it PewDiePie is fine. I mean, he can still make videos. He can still do his things. He's just not going to do it with Disney/Maker Studios.
Yeah.
And you know, this is always a teaching moment for some people that actions have consequences. You know,
Hmm.
freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences or freedom from listening to an undesirable response to your speech.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and it's just, as 13 UCube says, he's for liberty, especially on the internet, and I am too. If that's what PewDiePie wants to do, and that's what his fans want to see him do, then fine. It's just let him do it. But Disney does not have to associate with him if they don't like what he's doing. He has no legal or natural right to have Disney partner with him.
right, he
So
has no
yeah,
right or entitlement to a platform and not
yeah,
Disney's platform. And the hell, YouTube, Google could say, "Well, we don't want this on our service," and boot them off too. And it could do that to me if I. Yeah, I mean, it could, whatever my MCN is, they could have taken one look at my reaction video, the mom reacts to guy masturbating to kittens video, and they could have said, "Oh, yeah, bye,"
yeah,
and I would have said, "Well, yeah, I can't say I blame you. Yeah, it's fine. It's life. It happens. Not
yeah,
everyone likes everything you do." Then again, paying someone to hold up a sign that says "Death to all Jews," in my humble opinion, not funny.
yeah,
I think there's I now I think there is some humor and satire to mine out of the setup that you can pay people to do weird stuff.
yeah,
Um, but I think the humor he was going for, I mean, that's kind of a lazy joke, really. Um, but I mean, I guess that's kind of the curse of popular YouTubers is you're pressured to just release content, get it out there. Get one video, three videos every single day out there, and especially when your shtick is humor, you don't have time to really write your jokes and craft and shape your craft. So there can be a lot of times when a YouTube comedian or any comedian will um, put out a joke that wasn't as carefully considered as perhaps it should have.
hmm
So you also have to be cognizant of who your audience is, who you want to reach, who you're talking to, and also who you want to exclude. I mean, when you
yeah,
tell a joke, you have to ask yourself, who is this for? Um, who would appreciate who am I talking to, who am I not talking to, and that's something I try to pay attention to in my humor. It's like, okay, I know this particular joke is going to exclude a certain group of people. Am I okay with that? Like the masturbating to kittens thing, that's obviously going to bug some people. Some people are going to be like, oh, no, close the window. um and I have to realize that that's going to happen, and I have to understand and accept that. And
yeah,
that's the way I look at things anyway.
definitely, yeah.
So
And I,
oh, hey Dave.
yeah, we
So
mentioned PewDiePie, and we suddenly got a massive influx of comments. So
oh man, sorry.
yeah,
Dave says PewDiePie did a social experiment. He's not racist. It was more about how people don't care about what they say for money. Good show, guys. Yeah, not funny, but I understand what was for shock. Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. I don't know PewDiePie. I've never met the man. I don't watch his work. But I don't get the sense that he's, consciously racist or anti-Semitic either. I agree with Dave that and what I was saying before is the idea of commenting on paying people to do things that they shouldn't or wouldn't do otherwise. There's some insightful observations you can make with that, and I just think the whole death to all Jews things was poorly considered, especially when you work for Disney.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you know what? I work for Disney. They're probably not going to like that one. I think it could have gone a few different ways, but hopefully, well, and unfortunately, some of the stuff, and again, I've not been paying that close attention to this, but some of the stuff that PewDiePie's been saying, he seems to. I have not agreed with how he's reacted. I've found it a little entitled and childish in some ways. He's been kind of lashing out at basically anyone who didn't like his work. And um, again, I haven't been playing
Yeah.
too careful attention to what he's said and done since, but the guy's done well for himself. I think he'll be just fine. And he's young yet. You learn. You grow, you evolve, hopefully. Some people don't.
Yeah.
Scotty J, any thoughts on Milo? Nope. He's a genuinely terrible human being, and I certainly wouldn't have him on this show. So,
Yeah. And honestly, I'm of the opinion that he's said some really horrible things and nothing had offended any conservative group that I am aware of, except once he started talking about positive impacts of pedophilia. And it's like,
well,
what?
what
It's
I find, I think the most notable thing for me from the entire kerfuffle is that really that's where the line was.
yeah,
So
exactly.
all of the genuinely terrible things he's said and done over the years, all of that was okay, but this was the steps too far. And well, I can understand why uh, pro pedophilia comments, and actually, I have no idea what it is he allegedly said. I just heard it was some pro pedophilia thing, and I'm sure it was framed as a joke or whatever. But I just find it kind of odd that it's like, okay, so all this horrible stuff is fine. We're good with that. Oh, nope, bye. It's like,
Mhm.
well, it's. I guess it's nice to know you draw the line somewhere. I'm a little disappointed in you that it's way the hell over there, but you know, uh,
Yeah. Yeah, it's just as long as he's offending other people, they're okay. But once it offends their own sensibilities, that's where, yeah.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting, but I don't think yeah, the real problem is offending people. I think it's harassing and abusing other people is
Yeah.
what I take umbrage with. So. You don't understand why no one asks about Otis? It's because Otis is a jerk. That guy, the janitor guy in Dead Rising, constantly bothering you over the radio when you're trying to get stuff done. I'm trying to try on a pair of children's clothing in the toy store, and Otis is like, "Hey, there's like people trapped in the warehouse." I'm like, "I'm busy, Otis, with important things. Can't you see that on the monitor? Leave me alone." So.
13U Cube clarifies it's Milo and Otis, which
Oh, that
I'm assuming is a pair of dogs. I'm
that's a
trying to
dog and a
remember.
cat, I believe. It's a
Dog and a
movie,
cat. Yeah, that's right.
and
Yeah.
I've seen the movie. I've never seen the behind the scenes, and I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but there's a bunch of shots in that film where I'm like, did they just throw a cat off of a cliff for this shot? I certainly hope not. But I think they may have just thrown a cat off of a cliff into the ocean. It's like, I'm sure he'll be okay. He's landing
Uh,
in water. Um, so that movie is a
Laxter,
weird
yeah.
watch.
Laxter comments. I like how you guys answer questions. Have you thought any thoughts about X? Nope. Here's 10 minutes of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we do have thoughts. Sometimes we don't want to go into them very much. Like I'm sure we could spend a half hour more talking about PewDiePie and Milo and various other topics,
Hmm.
but sometimes we just want to just move beyond them as quickly as
Yeah.
possible.
But for PewDiePie, I think I get the impression, although from listening to what others have said about him, that he's a genuinely decent guy who just became really popular, really famous, really quick, really young, and that can be very hard to deal with. And when you're
Yeah,
constantly,
just look
when
at a
you're in a
lot of
position,
child actors.
well, right, and he's in a position where he does his own thing. No one tells him no. He doesn't, have a manager, so far as I know, to um, look at
Reel them
his
in.
proposed
Yeah.
content and say, this, because MCNs don't actually manage you. They just monetize you and take some of the money. That's about it. I have not seen many MCNs that actually work with you to help you improve your craft and market your brand and not stumble and do stupid things. Um, I don't get the sense that I forget the gentleman's name, PewDiePie, but it's whatever. His name's not English, so I can't remember it. If his name was Larry, I'd probably remember it. But I've never heard of him doing anything outright abusive or harassing or attacking anybody. He just makes some questionable jokes that lack in any taste or decency on occasion. Um, so I have hope that he'll learn from this and move on. And I mean, he's certainly not going to starve to death. He's fine, and
Yeah.
he's still got a bunch of fans. It's going to be fine. Felix gets, and then Calgary from, yeah, it is Felix something. I think there's a K in his last name somewhere. As far as a Milo Yiannopoulos or something like that. Funny story about Milo is I knew of who he was thanks to Gamergate about a year before I
Yeah.
first saw him. And the first time I saw him, I'd never seen a picture of him. I'd only known him through his genuinely terrible writing on Breitbart. Um, and I say terrible writing because basically everything he wrote was completely untrue. And fascinatingly, almost everything he wrote, you could tell was untrue simply by clicking on the links that he provided in his articles. It was so weird. He'd say, well, this happened. Proof. And I'd go, okay, click the link. I'm like, well, that's not what that says at all. And it's like, I, that's ballsy to put I mean, that's saying like no one's actually going to click the link and read it. I'm safe.
Yeah.
Um, but the first time I saw Milo was the Airplay, the SPJ Airplay event that we covered in the last days of Game Politics, and I was watching the live stream, and the camera cuts to Milo. And that's the first time I'd ever seen. I didn't even know that was Milo at the time, and I saw this gentleman, and I was like, well, there's a dude I just want to punch right in the face. I'm like, wow, there are occasionally I'll run into people like, wow, there's a punchable face, but I'm like, man, I just want to, I don't know what it is, but that's just smarm with eyeballs. I mean, I just want to punch him. It's weird. Um, but he has been kicked off of Twitter. He has been dropped from Breitbart, or well, I think he
No.
resigned officially, but I think they were going to fire him anyway. And
Yeah.
Conservative Political Action, not committee, convention, uh,
Yeah.
said
Convention.
said no. Um, I am. I never wish for harm to anybody, but uh, well, barely.
Well,
But
he also had a book deal dropped.
oh yeah, Simon and Schuster dropped his book. So I'm actually, and this sounds mean to say about anyone, I suppose, but I'm glad that his hateful rhetoric is being denied a platform in so many different places. I'm
Yeah.
disappointed it's taken so long for so many people to say that these are disgusting, horrible views that are being used to justify abuse, harassment, and violence against other people, and not allow that a platform. So I think that's good, and hopefully Milo will go back to doing whatever the hell he was doing before Gamergate. Um,
I think he was
but
just writing for Breitbart before Gamergate.
I guess. So is Milo a YouTuber? No, not as far
No.
as I know, anyway. I mean, he's been on like podcasts and stuff. In fact, something he said on a podcast last summer was basically just unraveled that sweater. That was a weird analogy. He's a writer. Yeah, he writes for Breitbart. Although there's been a lot of stuff where apparently a lot of the stuff he writes is just taken from. 4chan and Reddit and just reformatted for an article. But apparently, a lot of his work is crowdsourced in a way.
Yeah.
Um, Laxter says, to be fair, you could say that about most articles on Breitbart based on the ones I've read. Yeah, that I've never actually gone to Breitbart just to read stuff. Like, I think, oh, check out Breitbart, see what's going on there today. I've only ever read articles at Breitbart that people have specifically linked me to. Um,
Yeah, me too.
and
And
every
usually it was
single
Gamergate related
Yeah,
ones.
and every single one, without exception, was just obnoxious horse poop.
Yeah.
And I have, I hate to judge an entire site based on a small sample size of a couple dozen articles that I've read, but I have to imagine that um, the stuff I'm getting linked to in the shoutbox of game politics, which was being used to support arguments. It's like, well, look at this thing here in Breitbart. I'm like, okay, and I read it and I go, well, that's bullshit. It's obvious bullshit. Just click the links in the article. That's well. So, being that it's like,
Yeah.
well, this has to be the creme de la creme. This has to be the shining examples of these sites. So, if that's the best they got, I don't feel I need to read anymore. And
Yeah.
yeah, we had some fun times in the shout box and game politics.
Yeah.
Who's
Oh,
more
good
trustworthy,
times.
Breitbart or Wall Street Journal? Well, I don't know because Wall Street Journal is a pay site. I can't read it,
Yeah. Well,
so I don't know.
last I checked, the Wall Street Journal does not employ anybody that is openly like Milo
Hmm.
in any way or fashion. So I would assume that they're a little more trustworthy than a site like Breitbart. Yeah, but typically because the Wall Street Journal is run more like a uh, traditional news source rather than whatever sensationalist crap Breitbart is.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I've seen Wall Street Journal article titles, and they're at least better than the Breitbart article titles I've read. So, I mean, if you're going to judge an article by its headline, there you go. It wins in headlines. But again, Wall Street Journal is a pay site, and I don't pay for it, so I really can't say. But this day and age, I am very cautious about almost everything I read, and it's really annoying. I hate not being able to trust anything you read these days. Yeah,
yeah.
especially when you see stuff on social media. The first thing I do is I look, I say, okay, where is this from? I've never heard of that before, so immediate red flag, red flag.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. But, yeah,
Jordan, did
and
I see your comments 3 or 4 back? I don't know. Let me scroll up. The real problem is humans. We are a self-destructive force that loves war and being divided. It's too profitable. We are a lost cause, and the only way to rectify that is to wipe out all of society. Yes, nuke the site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. The nuclear option, which seems more likely each day. I mean, we hope not.
Yeah,
Baxter points out
certainly.
that this used to be, super podcast action committee. So, we do have a political side. Ching Ring asks, "Do I hate Trump? Hate? Mm, that's a strong word. No, I try not to hate any person, um, but I certainly don't like him. He's a genuinely terrible human being and hopelessly incompetent, and unfortunately in a position of power, and that's
Pretty
distressing.
much. Yeah.
Quite,
Yeah.
quite distressing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, for example, if I had the power to just pick up Donald Trump and almost everyone around him, to be frank, by the scruff of the neck and just move him right out of the White House and just shuffle him off right back into Trump Tower, I would do that. Would I drop him into a fiery pit? No. Would I, slap him with a frozen tuna until he was paste? No. I don't want the guy to. I don't wish death on the man. I don't wish uh, pain or anything. I just wish he were somewhere else, not hurting people or making life miserable for lots of others.
Yeah.
I and having said that, I do have kind of a mean streak, especially towards people who genuinely physically hurt people I care about. Yeah, people I've been close to have been hurt by other people in various ways, and I'm like, kill them. Yeah, there's a part of me that gets very. Most of you know that I do have a temper, so I do get angry, and I do get really mean and dark in some of my thoughts sometimes, but I really do try not to. So
Yeah.
I love Woodchuck Society. Andrew Eisen for president, please. Okay, I would be a terrible politician because I am really, I'm like honest to a sincere fault. I mean, you hear the phrase "honest to a fault." I am like, uh, they ain't kidding when I came out of the mold. I am so very badly honest. If you follow my Twitter, you can probably see why. I mentioned something that when I have a sex dream, I am immediately inclined to call up whoever I dreamed about or email them and tell them all about it. Crystal, guess what I dreamed last night? It's like, what is wrong with you, Andrew? Don't do that. It's like I can't help it. I'm compelled to share. I mean, it may not be the most bright idea in the world, but Chang Ring says, "I love Trump and I love you too, Andrew." Oh well, thank you very much. So, 13U Cube, this is exactly how I felt about both Clintons. Okay. It's an awful feeling. Yeah, it certainly is an awful feeling when the people in power who are supposed to be looking out for you and everyone else's best interests don't, at least in your mind, live up to that ideal and standard. It is terrible. It's not not cool at all.
Yeah.
And so, but it is what it is, and basically all you can do is, well, I mean, it depends on who you are and where you are, but all really I can do is uh, vote and talk to my representatives, and of course, I live in California, so my representatives are, for the most part, doing what have pretty much the same values and ideas that I do. Um, so, but I mean, if I lived in Kentucky, who, like with my mom in her congressional districts, oh, I would probably be on the phone every single week, yelling
Yeah.
at my congressperson and senator
Well,
and.
one of their assistants,
Or,
anyways.
well, yes and
Yeah.
no, no. Put the man or woman on the phone. I want to speak to the boss. Yeah, right. But 13 cube. Are you saying that you are honest to the point where someone might call you a genuinely unkind person? You mean like if I'd say, like if someone says, what do you think of my outfit? It makes you look fat. No, I don't go out of my way to be mean. Even if if I see a person with hair even more ridiculous looking than mine, I'm not going to say anything. So no, I don't think so. I certainly have hurt people's feelings with my honesty before. That's usually in closer relationships. Froylan says this is getting weird. Yes, 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 it does get
Yeah.
weird. But Curicoli, Cricoline. I'm new here. Why is this called Molehill Mountain? Well, Molehill Mountain because everything we discuss here is the most important thing we could possibly be talking about, like the
Yep.
Nintendo Switch.
Yep, because we like to make mountains out of our
molehills. Yeah, that's where it comes from. So okay, we've been chatting. I thought we were going to keep this to an hour, but we did not. We never do.
We never do. Never do.
So that is the true terribleness of PewDiePie and Donald Trump and Milo Yiannopoulos. They make
Milo
podcast. They make podcasts run over. Shame on you.
And they make it impossible to keep track of timestamps.
That's right. Whatever anti-Semitic stuff you may have said, nothing is quite up there with making our podcast run over. So okay, let's close the show, plug our stuff, get out of here. Andrew Eisen here. Eisen is how you spell the last name. Plug it into YouTube, you'll find my videos. I'm currently doing a series of videos called Nintendo Switch Launch Countdown, where every day from now until the launch of the Switch, I'll be taking a look back at the previous Nintendo hardware launches and how hyped I was at the time. So this morning, today's video looked at the NES, and tomorrow's video will look at the Super NES, Monday N64, and on from there right up to the Switch. So I hope you enjoy those. I'm also working on my 10,000 subscriber celebration spectacular. I'm still editing it. I've got it down to 11 minutes. Trying to get another minute off, but everything is just gold. I hate to cut anything. It's like removing a part of my soul. Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Andrew Eisen, and my Facebook page is Andrew Eisen YouTube. Zachary, plug away.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at Easy Night, where I sometimes talk about interesting things like gaming or politics or other things that come up. I also make games. You can follow my game development work at DK_gaming on Twitter and DivineKnightGaming.com. And now that everything has finally been moved to our new house, I might have some more time to actually make stuff. And finally, I write about the Oklahoma game development scene, and you can check that out at OKGameDevs on Twitter and OKGameDev.com.
All right, and 13U Cube is recommending a video of mine that is called Getting to Know the Neighbors. Viewer discretion is advised for potty mouth. And that's it for episode 37. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And I have a suspicion that some of Super Metal Dave's viewers were sticking around for our show. So thanks. Glad y'all were here. And hope to see y'all next week for episode 38. Saturdays at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. See you then. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. See ya.